Right, folks, we got game number 55 of Morphy's Games of Chess. The Anderson-Morphy match continues. The seventh match game held on December 25th, 1858. All right. I wonder if Santa came, if the guys were good little boys this year, back in 1858. But anyway, let's see. Let's see who wins this one. We got Morphy with the white pieces. You got E4, of course, and now look at this, folks. Once again, Anderson with the center counter. We've seen this in the fifth match game, right? I believe it was the fifth match game where Anderson tried the center counter, a little different, trying to throw Morphy in uncharted territory. Now, Morphy takes, just like in the other game, and Anderson had answered that one with the knight coming to F6. This time he captures with the queen. Now we went over some ideas in both lines for black. You know what your ideas are with the center counter defense, also known as the Scandinavian defense. But all right, even though we went over some lines, Anderson throws a totally unique thing, his own concoction. He whips it up. We'll get into it now. Okay, the knight comes out, of course. That was standard procedure. The knight hitting the queen. Okay, queen retreats to A5. A modern post for the queen. You see that a lot now in the Scandinavian these days. Okay, and Morphy, D4 exclamation point. I guess they feel it's the best move. You're releasing you're releasing your queenside bishop there, the dark square bishop, getting it ready to come into battle. And you're also taking key squares, you know, the E5, C5 in the center. All right. So now, look at Anderson. Look at this move, folks. E5. E5. You challenged with you challenged the white pawn on E4 with D5. Now you're challenging the white D pawn with E5. Huh? How about all this, right? They're going toe-to-toe here in the center. Now, this says right here, the combination of the last two moves is Anderson's idea. Praised by some of the experts, it is nevertheless open to the objection that it develops white's game quicker than black's. I don't really see how that is, but anyway, okay, it says knight to F6 is better. Knight to F6 is better. Techman, if I pronounce his name right, Techman, he tried pawn to C6 against Schletcher, Nuremberg, 1896. Followed it up with, I guess the knight came out and he pinned it with the queen bishop to G4. And then eventually, I don't know, let's just play a move for white. Okay, I don't know what white played. I don't know what Schletcher played at that point. But then they say followed up by E6. Common theme, folks. You get in the Scandinavian you want to get, or center counter as they say, you want to get your light square bishop out into the field of battle, and then you close the gate. You see? Then you play E6. You don't want to play E6 like here, and then you trap. You trap this guy in here. He can't get out, see? These pawns really hinder his development. So that's one thing. That's what happens to the queen bishop in the French defense. But we have the fortunate option to actually play like this and get him out of there. See that? Before you close the gate, And you're controlling, we've mentioned it before in the other game, how D5, black controls D5, very important key square in the battle. Okay, that shapes up. Okay, you're gonna have you're gonna have the knight coming to the natural square, controlling D5, right? You maybe you get this guy over here, over there, though you don't want to block the queen's retreat because if white throws, let's see whose turn is it? All right, I threw castles. If he goes here and white can try some trickery here, you don't want to get Yeah, look, he takes. All right, he still has that retreat. So you don't want to do this, folks. You want to block the queen's retreat. Look at the tactics that come into play now, see? You're hitting the queen here. The white bishop's attacking her. You move, and now you just fall. It was a double whammy because now you lost the exchange there. See that? Who knows? Maybe even get the queen can be trapped in some lines. All right. So you don't want to, you at least win this. See that? You don't want to block your queen's retreat. That's a key thing to always remember. That's why c6 is played. See that? That's why all the way back here, c6 is a very important move. Not only does it control d5, but it gives the queen a retreat if it has to on the diagonal. Okay, so those are some of the ideas, right? But here we have Anderson, like we said, he's playing e5, striking right at the d pawn. Okay, Morphy goes ahead and takes. Okay, now it's like a gambit, folks. Okay, this is like a gambit. And sure enough, as Shredder sees right away, it says bishop in the old masters wrote here, bishop to b4 is now preferred because Anderson doesn't play that. He takes the pawn back, okay, with check, all right, with check. But like the old masters say, Shredder sees it. Bishop to b4 is the normal move. And I mean, at this point, okay, look, he's going to play this. Now, let me show you a little trick also. This is a common move, right? You figure, well, let me protect that e-pawn with my knight, right? Well, yeah, you can take here, okay? But one thing you got to notice, say if white was to play a3 as an example, okay? Big mistake. For one, he can't even take that. Do you notice he can't even take him? For instance, just make a developing move. I don't know. Let's say you play the bishop over here for now, right? Or the knight. Let's say you bring the knight, I don't know. Maybe we can't bring him here. So let's just do this, right? Just to show you can't take here. You lose the rook. You can't even, so that a3 is not even a move that should be played at this point, right? Because it means nothing. Okay, now he would just take too, and there you go. You get the pawn back, I guess, and then you can. Now he has to block with the bishop, else he loses the rook, right, folks? Right, there you go. So now you're really out of it. So there could be some pitfalls for the new players. They're going to miss a lot of this stuff, the beginners. But once you get up into the the 1600s, they're going to have some lines to combat this. But then again, this e5 move is very rare. I haven't seen it much in my games. I think this is kind of like a lost gem. This was Anderson. I saw in some of Anderson's games he liked to whip this out and hit the opponents. It's kind of hard to meet if you never went up against it. A lot of traps, a lot of tactics involved. And what's nice, that's what the Morphy style, folks. We're going to love tactics. We want the tactical game, even if we're gammoning. This is right up your alley. And, you're going to get your pieces out to good squares. This is what we're trying to do, We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We just want to beef up on our combinations, our tactics, and get openings that, that are easy to play. You get your pieces out quickly. This one falls right into that. You throw the e5 pawn, you gambit, right? Then you pin the knight. He can't play this waste of time, right? So let's say I was starting to say, what if he plays this, right? Yeah, you can take here, but what if, you can pin that guy now. You can pin him, right? It works out. It's funny. I mean, if you go down here, what is it? Shredder's saying to take this right now and then play this, right? And instead of going, instead of grabbing the pawn, okay, you're falling behind in development. See that? Now the queen can't grab this because the knight is protecting it. That's the idea of knight f3. So a lot of craziness. It's almost like because of that one tempo this is the move, I guess. And then you take over here. Now, if he plays the queen, you're playing black pieces. Shredder's got it. Look, you trade right away. Even though white's ahead now in development, 3 pieces to 1, right? The queens are off the board. So you may be behind in development, but with the queens off the board, the game slows down. You're going to catch up, no problem, and you got an easy game to play. The pawn structure is the same. You're not down. Once you catch up in development, it's easy. Look, let's see where it goes, right? Get a knight leaping here for whatever. We're doing it fast. Okay. I know there's probably better, right? All right, this keeps the knight from leaping here, right? The black knight can't come up, I guess. You get this guy out, right? He's launching the pawn. Gonna hit that knight on f6 maybe. Okay, here we go. So he hits him. All right. He's getting cramped. I'm just looking. You can't leap here because you lose. I mean, obviously there's 2 on it, right? So you lose a pawn like this, right? But what I was looking at is, well, what if you take this guy first? He recaptures. Now you can maybe leap here, but he's still, with his rook, he still controls c5. So okay, so you would lose a pawn. Yeah, so white is kind of launching a little. He's getting aggressive here, even with the queens off. So you're kind of pushing that knight back, which isn't great. So the idea when you're cramped like black, he's going to try to trade off some pieces. All right, there you go. He takes there. You could get your knight. One of those knights could come back to that post. And he's expanding over there. Right, here you go. It's a game, folks, you know. It's a game. There you have it. Is anybody winning or losing? Now, white's a little better. His space, you know, he's got a little, black's a little cramped. But in time, I think he can solve that problem. He probably has better moves earlier on. Once you get those queens off, it slows down, even though white's up, like, you know, 2 tempos. Yeah, it's black's move. So he's really just up 1 tempo with an extra minor piece developed, right? And moves like this, a3, you know, really. I mean, you could even just, instead of wasting time pulling back. I mean, it is a pawn move, though. And he didn't gain any time. You could even maybe trade, but you're giving white the bishop pair. Get this guy so he doesn't wreck your pawns over here, right? Even then, though, it's a game, you know. What's black got to complain about at this point, right? What do you got to complain about? All right, we take that. I mean, hey, now they're giving white +1. All right, so I guess maybe the bishop here, it wasn't good to give up like that. You can put him back, right? He's got to jump on the development slightly. Look at this. Is it shaping up any different, folks? Control D5 right there so the knights don't leap up. I don't know. He does this. You don't want the knight over there, because remember that rule, folks? See how you bust up those queenside pawns? So obviously you're going to move him over here. And there it goes. He's launching that guy again. All right, so that's what we got into. All right. But really, you would block with that with an idea of hitting you hit the queen, right? You hit the queen back. All right. He stays over here on this bishop. He keeps him pinned. Now, instead of the knight coming out, he could have played the bishop here, right? Now, if he throws the knight, you take it. You bust his kingside pawns up. You see that, folks? Because he can't capture with the bishop. The bishop's pinned by the black queen. See that? All right. Now, if you don't want to bring the knight out and you do one of these, well, now you deprive the knight of the best square, right? You deprive the knight of the best square. All right. Shredder seems to have it figured out. He moves it up again. Queen moves. Now I guess this guy could come out. There you go. See? All right. So it's a game, folks. It's a game. Look at the evaluation, right? Look at that evaluation. plus .14. You think white can make something of that? What do you think? All right, so there's some ideas, you know. Bishop to b4 is the move, and you get once that bishop is pinned. If he plays the queen, you trade him off. No big deal, right? Whether he takes this way or that way. And if he blocks with the bishop, bishop is pinned, well, then you start playing some tricks on it. You might be wondering, well, what if a3? There you go, Shredder finds it. What if he hits your bishop? Now, if you were to take it, look out, because see, now do you see what happens, folks? I mean, let's just show it. Look, I'll keep that bishop pinned. Say I go here, right? Then look, it's a skewer. And the bishop comes down. Once the queen moves, the bishop takes on g7, and he's going to win the rook. He's going to win the rook. Outright, I guess, you know? And there you go. I mean, white's clearly winning now. Kind of behind in development, but he's got a great material edge. He's up a whole rook. Let's see, he goes here, right? I'm just looking when that knight's going to move with tempo, but it doesn't really matter, right? He's going to try to, oh, there you go. You trade him off. This is all white has to do, just keep trading down pieces. You get the queens off. Let's see, you see, he's that, wait a minute now. You got 3 minor pieces in a rook, and yeah, white's got 3 minor pieces in 2 rooks. I mean, come on. He doesn't even have, you know, a minor piece for that rook. Just lost it outright. Okay, so you don't want to take over here. No way, you can't. You can't. It's a big blunder. Now, there is another line here. Look, you could go for his queen. He takes yours. You take his. But look, he's got that again, folks, right? All right, you win a pawn back. But big deal, right? What are you going to do? He goes there. Look at this. He won't even let this guy rest over here. And then he takes this and forget it, right? Now, you're once again down a rook. Or are you? Wait, let me see this. You got, no, you got a minor piece. You're down the exchange. You're down the exchange. Let me just see how that played out. Oh, yeah, because you took on e2. You took the bishop there. He takes, and then you take the queen. And then he goes in for your rook. So he wins the exchange, right? He goes after your guy over here. You move. Then he takes over there. There you go, see? All right, a little mystery to me for a second. Where you know, white is up the exchange with an easy win. I mean, forget it, an easy win. Okay, so you can't take the knight. So you'd move, right? All right, here they go. They say right here is a good one. All right, he hits this guy now. All right, you take. Again, folks, if he goes here, you might not like trading queens, but that might be the best thing to do to slow it down so you get your pieces out. But even here, look, you got this option. All right, he takes them off, and now at least you have the knight. So he helps to develop you understand? I mean, you had your knight out already developed, but when he takes here, well, at least now it's centralized, right? It's coming to the middle of the board. A lot of influence. The knights love to be in the middle. There you go. White moves his own knight. Going after this guy. Don't want to give him up. So, there you go. He goes after your knight there. Look at this. You leave your knight on e5 hanging. Look at Shredder here with the tactics here. He takes, right? If he takes here, you could take there. If he wants to capture, you're just going to, well, you could get checked first, huh? First, there you go for this. And then you're going to win the one down here, right? You got to watch that. It's a common theme. You know, your bishop could win that pawn, right? Once the rook attacks your bishop, you could win the pawn down on the other end. And look at f2 now, folks. Look at f2. You got the rook on it, the knight on it. You got this guy over here, right? You don't want to let the enemy rook come right in the game for the sake of winning a pawn, especially when he can win it right back, right? Look at this, he wins the exchange. He goes, why not go there, right? You take with check. So he decides to go here. You take this guy. All right, so anyway, now it's black who's winning that, right? We're doing it quick. Just showing you the ideas. These themes come up in so many openings, so many games. Now, look, he takes here. All right, he busts the pawns, but you're protecting that knight. right? Was that best? I mean, okay, he goes back to protect f6. Castle here. And it's a game, right? It's a game. Get the bishop off. All right, so now they both have a knight in the end game here that's shaping up, right? Right? Black, I take it. I take it. I'm happy with it. I think he could pull a draw out. Who knows? Maybe white blunders, gives the game away, right? So, all right, there's some ideas for it, the way it could shape up. Very interesting idea by Anderson with e4. Okay, now they're saying it opens white's game up quicker than black's, but I don't know. I mean, you got both sides get their bishops out nice. The knights could come out. I mean, I don't see any advantage other than white gets to move first, right? But look at this. At this point, after the pawn, grab on e5, take the notice who's got the two pieces out. Black. White's catching up, right? So there he gets his pawn back now. Okay, he gets another piece developed, but it's pinned, and then you can fool around with that guy over there, right? There you go. Shredder likes this one better. What are you going to do, right? Okay, he goes back, keeps the pin on the bishop, the castle. Yeah, all right, Shredder gets the knights out, right? He gets the second one out. Here you go, setting it up. He's setting up some tactics. See this? I think if you let the engine run, he might even like this. He attacks the queen, right? Discovered attack on the queen. He goes there. He can't even win this, actually. So, I don't know. There was a crazy line at some point. You just attack the queen. The queen goes back. All right. I was thinking you could win b7, but you can't. All right. So, anyway. There you go, right? What is it, folks? It's a game. It's a game, right? Here you go. They trade them off a little. Here they go. All right, going after b2, big deal. He comes swinging in here. You trade off another set of knights, right? Here we go. All right, enough, right? You could go another 1,000 ways at this point. e5, pretty interesting idea, right? Gotta admit. I think you gambiteers will like that one. All right, so he plays it. He plays it. Morphy takes, and now, not bishop to b4. Anderson takes the pawn back already. He just takes it with check. Okay, Morphy doesn't want to give up the queens. Look, what would you do, folks? You take them off. Take them right off. Let's play this game easy now for black. You just got to catch up with the development, and you're good to go. You're only behind one piece. See? All right, he goes there. Big deal. You break that up. You know, he's not going to bust the pawns now that your bishop's there. If he takes, then that's silly because now he gives you the bishop pair. All right, so anyway, it's a game. Now, Morphy doesn't play the queen to block the check. He plays the bishop. All right, he plays the bishop. Makes sense. Morphy, as you know from previous games, love to keep the queens on the board. He can make something happen, right? Okay, now Anderson plays bishop b4, pinning the knight. Now there's two on it. Okay, now get a load of this. Morphy, right? The gambiteer himself. Look, knight to f3, hitting the queen. Regarded by Steinitz as an unnecessary sacrifice of a pawn. I'll tell you, Steinitz, we're at game 55, and I noticed Steinitz heavily criticizes Morphy in many games, right? And I think more often than not, he's wrong. All right? So, all right. So here he is once again, criticizing Morphy giving up a pawn with this knight move. But it says here, but the open B file serves White's purpose admirably later on. He also gets rid of one of the hostile bishops this way. And the defensive bishop to d2 would leave him in some embarrassment after the reply bishop to g4. Now, I don't really, I mean, because it sort of transposes, folks, to what we were looking at, right? So let's say, you know, I'd say players under 2,000, a lot of them, they might quickly throw the knight there, you know, and then you bust his pawns. So that can be an embarrassment. Maybe that's what they're referring to. But like we looked at earlier, white could come out of this all right with a3. You know, he hits the bishop over there. This is transposed from what we looked at. Okay? We even saw Shredder just now. Look, he gets the bishop out of the pin. So now white's threatening this. Bishop takes bishop, you know. So, okay, he trades those off. Check move. Now I think you're going to swap them down. Look at that. And if he was dumb enough to take with this guy, you win a piece, right? All right, but that's not forced. He takes with the other knight. So once again, look, you made white move the king to f1, so you lost castling privileges. Although, you know, you're faced once again, okay, the knight will come here, I guess wants to come to c5. You come there, and you're only behind one tempo, right? White has 3 minor pieces. You have 2 minor pieces developed. But he lost castling privileges. The queens are off the board, so the game slows down, as I said. So is that king to f1 really that crippling? Probably not. But he's going to have to castle by hand, right? He's going to have to do something like this and move like this. All right, I know I'm not looking, but he's going to have to waste time. The one tempo he's ahead, he's going to have to castle by hand if he wants to link up them rooks, right? So, you know, this is fine for black. So this king move, big deal. You trade him off. All right, white would want to keep the queens on. Okay, you take back with the knight, right? And there you go. What's this? Oh, you set the knight up. Nice thing to notice. The knight on e2 supports the bishop coming to f4, pestering the black queen. But I don't think. Let's see. He goes there. You're gonna have to trade him. You don't want to lose time moving the queen again. Trade him off. That's part of black's scheme anyway. You know, when you're a little behind, it's always good to trade off. There you go. Look, nobody's in threat. He wants to take. Good. Let him take. You take back with the bishop. Big deal. Right? And where's the tempo, folks? Look at all this. After all this, he's going to have to castle by hand, right? It's pretty much an even game. Look at the evaluation. 0.13, right? Actually in black's favor, too, no less. But really, it's even. Anything under 1, it doesn't, you know. It could be anybody's game. All right, going all the way back. There you go. You go back. He could hit you here, right? All right, now you take him. I guess you give him the. He doesn't have the bishop here. All right, so you won't waste time. You castle. There you go. You got a game, right? He goes there. Look. Shredder knows. Take him off. Come on. And you go here. Matter of fact, on that one, you're helping white get his king, you know, off the back rank. His rooks are linked up. All right, he checks him back. I guess he runs back there. All right, there you go. It's a game, right? Who knows? It's a game. And basically that's it, you know. It transposes. That would be the embarrassment. This is what they actually say. You know, bishop to d2 is where we all stem this from, right? We went down that road. Pretty much transposes after bishop to g4, right? Look at this move by Shredder. Hit the queen. All right, keep the pin on the bishop. Look at this. He's going double threat. The bishop's hanging, and the knight's going to take on c7. All right, so he takes back. It's a check move, folks. All right, your knight comes here to protect c7. All right, there you go. And he's booting your queen around a bit. That's the one drawback of the center counter. You don't want your queen. You don't want the enemy's pieces to you know, find good squares like this knight just did, centralized knight, by gaining tempos on your queen. Okay. Now even here, white's up by half a pawn, so he's doing fine. All right, so let's go back now. So what does Morphy do once again? Remember, not the bishop. He comes out with the knight. And like they said, Steinitz criticized Morphy that he loses a pawn. Okay, so he takes here, right? His queen's in trouble, but he's got the check move, right? Here we go, right? Now Anderson takes the pawn. Now you bring the bishop here to d2. Well, you got to because your rook on a1's hanging, right? Okay, so you block that way. You don't do any of this. You don't do this, right? You lose the knight. I mean, you lose the rook in the corner, right? So, hit the queen. Queen, this is where Anderson pulls it. He pulls it back to c5, just like Shredder was showing. Okay, so, now look what happens. Like the notes had said, Morphy utilizes the b file with his rook, right? He brings it to b1, putting pressure on b7 pawn. Now this guy can't jump into the game, else he can lose, you know, he loses that guy. Look, Shredder already going after the queen, right? Going after the queen. But just take note, there's pressure on b7, okay? So after rook to b1, look at this. Shredder finds it again. Anderson with knight to c6. Look at Shredder, Morphy castles. I mean, I don't know, folks. It's kind of eerie the way they built the brain of this thing, this program. He plays just like these two. All right, knight comes out for Anderson, right? Shredder finds it, and here you go. Look, you got bishop to f4. Look at Shredder. Look at this, bishop to f4. He likes it. I don't know. Is there a ghost in the machine, folks? Is Anderson or Morphy? What did I say? Anderson plays? I meant Morphy. The two, they play alike. Shredder just plays like them. I tell you, there's a ghost in the machine. All right. So now, what does the board say? Castles. Castles by Anderson. Shredder finds it, folks. I don't know. Were these two guys, did they have Shredder program back then? Maybe they were in a time machine. They were playing it using computers back then. Who knows? I don't know. It's kind of eerie. All right. So anyway, we got exclamation point for Anderson. Castles. Steinitz speaks of Anderson returning the extra pawn without good reason, but he does not suggest how he was to keep it. Folks, Steinitz again criticizing Anderson. He criticized Morphy, and I don't know. I think he's wrong here. I mean, these two, Steinitz and Anderson, did face off down the road. And, you know, I was rooting for Anderson. I got to admit it, but Steinitz held his own. He took him. He bested Anderson, and he became the official world champion, the first world champion after that match, because it was known that Anderson was by that point, he was the toughest player going. And Steinitz beat him, though. So, anyway, you know, we go back. Anderson castles. Steinitz criticizing him. And he doesn't suggest how he was to keep the pawn. See, he's letting Morphy take that pawn on c7. He says, whatever. He's giving it back. Remember, if you notice it's 6 pawns for Anderson versus Morphy's 5. But you gotta know when to. Sometimes you don't want to hang on to that pawn. You could twist yourself in knots. Next thing you know, the other player has the initiative, and you're ending up losing more than a pawn. You might lose a piece to just get mated. You understand? So you gotta know when to give it back. Sometimes, many times. And this is an example. Here you go, Anderson castling. Say, go ahead, take on c7. What do I care? All right, now they're suggesting here the old masters. They're trying to. Steinitz says he's given up a pawn, right? He shouldn't have done it. But the old masters try to show, well, how does he hang on to it? What does he do? Does he go here with queen e7? Does he try, to move the knight so the queen protects it from c5? Knight b4. Okay. They say both of these moves are full of danger for Anderson. Okay, so by simply letting the pawn go, he stays the attack. For this reason, Morphy's 12th move has been criticized. This is the 12th move. Going after that C7 pawn. Shredder liked it. Let's drag it back. Let's drag it back. Does he like it? There you go. He likes it. See the arrow, folks? That's what he likes right now. Maybe you let it run a little further. He come up with something else. The old masters came up with something else, and they say right here, aggressive move that we just saw before quickly. Rook to b5, harassing the black queen. Black queen drops here. The old masters give now rook to e1, right? With some kind of, discovery, some kind of crazy, let's see, even if you do this, look, crazy discovery. Rook on e1, checking the black king, right? Goes over, I don't know. So he loses castling privileges. But, okay, so the rook comes to e1. All right. Castle, get out of that danger, that discovered check. And now they just give queen to c1. I guess you're going to harass the, says, this was all suggested by Moraxi. Okay, this line that I'm showing you was actually suggested by Moraxi. All right, yeah, you go, look, you play this, you harass the queen, like I said, the black queen on d6. The white queen, that move, queen to c1, see that? So you back up your bishop, harassing, right? Harassing him. Now this guy, well, all right, they move the rook back, I guess. His job is done. Comes back home to base here, back to his fort. I don't know. It's anybody's game, folks. Anybody's game. Okay, so, we went a little further with it. This is Moraxi suggesting it, okay, for white. This was the alternative, you remember, going back. Instead of playing bishop to f4, you played a rook up. All right, but, black is still in it, folks. He's still in it. He hangs in there, right? Now, the other issue was that this move by Morphy, right? Anderson castles. I mean, instead of castling, the old masters had mentioned, I mean, if he tries to bring the queen to e7 to hang on to that, queen to e7 to defend the c7 pawn, well, now, look, you got this going on. Look, the rook, okay? Well, now he's saying just to play the c3 move. I was going to say this, you're going to have a discovered attack on the queen, right? You castle, you got the king to safety, but now the attack on the queen occurs. Does this really matter? I don't know. They're just doing it fast, folks. Here we go. Still looks like still could be anybody's game here. It's under a pawn, right? So, crazy to think that c3 move, what's that about? Let's see what this does, right? He comes back with the queen. What was c3 to keep the knight back? He came up with that c3 move with this, right? I mean, you can open up the diagonal there. d1, a4 diagonal for the queen. This pawn on c3 keeps the knight back. But, I mean, all right, black would castle. I don't really see where this goes. Harass the queen. Well, oh, okay. He plays b6, so the rook can't take on b7, right? Can't take that b pawn. And now he's able to shield his queen with the bishop. There was an idea. Go after him, right? Go after him. There you go. He likes that. Now you're threatening. Let's see. Okay, now you're threatening. He's going to take the bishop. You're going to bust the pawn structure. See, isolated pawn. Now white could play against that. Maybe control e5 or e4. Try to keep that pawn a target. White has the bishop pair against the two knights. So White might be doing better here. Small. What did they give us an advantage? How big of an advantage? There is one. Pretty even, huh? And actually, even if you see the evaluation is even, White has 5 pawns to black 6. But he has the bishop pair, so I guess it compensates. So it's evaluating it as pretty much even right now. What do you know? All right. Light squares are weak around the black king. All right, he'd have to go there. And is it a draw because it's like one of these repetitions? Look at this. That's why it's evaluated as a draw. Look at this. You go back. He goes here, unleashing the rook on f8. He likes this best of all, threatening to come down. See, repetition, threefold. Just keep going the same way. Now he could take here and get checked, but you leave the light square bishop unattended. See that? Oh, and then he wins the knight over there. And now it's the knight versus bishop ending. He moves here. Maybe you win c7. All right, who knows? Who knows, folks? It's still a fight. It's still a fight. Puts black up slightly, though, now because, well, who knows why. It's enough. You got to look deeper into it. Who knows, right? A million ways, this game of chess. All right, okay. So, I don't know. Maybe you could hang on to it like that, but crazy. What's c3 about? Anyway, Shredder likes this. He castles. Oh, yeah, this is the line. This is the line I saw. Remember I proposed this? You know, the attack of the rook on the... This is the line I got mixed up with. See? Now you got the open B file. You see, you got the open B file. So you could win the B pawn. The rook on B1 protects, right? There you go. Now he takes there. You take over here. All right, so 4-4. Pawns are even now. Right, who knows where this goes? Here's another way it could end up. This crazy game. All right. Who knows, right? Another way it could go. That's, forgive me, folks, earlier. I made that mistake. I got that confused with this line. I threw the bishop down there with a closed B file. It didn't work. All right. So, all right. Queen to E7. Playable, but who knows? It could be tricky, right? You got the other idea here. What would you try to hang on to c7 with a knight move here? All right. Queen comes up, threatening the knight. All right, he pulls it back, attacking the bishop. Moves the rook, attacking the queen, right? When you have a threat, pose a greater threat, right? This is the idea. Queen back. Threatening to win 2 knights. Is this right? 2 knights for the rook. All right, and you traded the queens along with it. But let's go back. I know black had. I'm just showing the threat with the rook to d1 here. Okay, black can easily defend, you see. And then here you go, you're forking. Look at this, you're forking the bishop and the queen. Over here, he plays this. All right, you win b7. I mean, this game, folks, it's funny because looking at some of these lines, it went a little different and they were crazy. Here you go, you isolate that pawn over there. That's pretty good. You got it. Black has 3 isolated pawns. You got the A, the C, and the E pawns isolated. Okay, nobody's trading off the queens yet. Let's see, what was that about? Oh, okay. He uncovers the rook on f8, supporting the knight taking this bishop. He takes over there. Look at this, how he gets it back. Kind of tactics, folks. Look at this. He gets the queen back. There you go. They're just trading them off. It's just a fancy way of doing it, right? All right, here you go. You saved that pawn. He was under the gun. And there you go. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Who knows where this goes? Who's winning this? It says white's up a bit. It says white's up a bit. Maybe this the pawn structure. You got the you can't. Let's see. You can't take. What if you take here and he takes? Do you get this one? I guess you do, right? But what are you losing in return? I guess the a pawn's hanging. I mean, you could come back and there is a, you know, if he makes a mistake, right? It's mate, folks. It's going to be mate. the knight taking away the E2 square. All right, you got to always watch him. You know, you think the game gets easier when the pieces come off. Lots of booby traps still waiting. All right, so there you go. Oh, I don't know. It could be anybody's fight right here. This could be a wild one. You know, look at it. I mean, the game of chess. I don't know. This idea down here. Let's see. What are we doing? We're trying to hang. Oh yeah, we're trying to hang on to the C7 pawn with this. You know. All right, he did that. He did this. All right. Well, look, Shredder wants to move this knight over here. Is that any different? Any dude's going after this one. So he goes here. You hit him. You get him over there. Look at this. You'd think that white could now maybe win that B4 knight, right? Because now, there you go. See, he wins this one, but I mean, he can't even take here, right? What's he do? Oh, it's a check. Okay, look at that. It's a check, so you don't get to win the rook. Black doesn't get to win the rook there. See that? All right, I missed it. All right. So he's blocking, he's shielding him first. Now the bishop is hanging, but he moves the rook. He saves his rook. So now the queen can take back. And this queen's under the gun, the black queen. I mean, you know, like I said, look at this. He's sliding there, attacking this guy and doubling up the attack on B7. Here we go. We take with check. All right, he's got to slide back over there to recapture. This guy's still under the gun. Don't forget him. Look at this. He takes there. He takes there. Right? He goes this way. He castles this way. Wow. Not much castle over there. It's in rubble. It's in ruins. All right. And there you have a game. Looks kind of dangerous for the black king over there. Look at this. Check. Gives the edge to white a little bit, maybe because of his busted king position. You wouldn't want to trade queens if you're white, because you got the attack going, perhaps. Well, he's going to trade that guy, right? Look at this. All right. Crazy here. Let's see. Let's just make a dumb move. He takes here. Takes with the pawn. Ah, this guy's coming down. Now you're going to win. Well, he defends H6. See that? But now you got the check. He goes there. Go after the queen. Goes here. Give the check. Goes back. If he goes here, folks, it's over, right? So he only has the option of going back. Now you attack this guy. It looks like white's making some headway. I threw in a blunderous A5 move for black, so don't get me wrong. This isn't forced. All right. Oh, he wins this one. He's on the 7th rank. Well, it shows white up big time. Big time. Black's position kind of falls apart. You get the other rook coming down the D file now. You get the check. Comes up. This rook's hanging, so all right. You know, we got the rook coming to D7 next, but he prevents that. The black king is naked. That's the problem here. That's the problem. All right, double him up. We're ready to check on G6. He wants to come down with a mate back rank weakness. You got to make a hole. Okay, he goes there. There you go. Defend H6 again. All right. Controlling E6. I think it's over now. Well, I know I went deep. I went deep this time, folks, but all right. It's a check. No check for the black rook. Queen covers B1. So he's got to go back to defend H6. He goes there. Look at this. Check. He can't, what if he takes here, then he wins this guy. He comes up. Maybe you could trade him off. You're going to trade him off. I think you're going to come to G6 now. There you go. You force him off. See that? You force him off. He wins that pawn, but folks, look at what you got. I mean, he can't stop these, right? How's he going to do it? Look. You can't stop them when you got two files between them, you know. The king can't cover both of them. It's all over, right? He tries to stop this one, you bring this one up. Tries to stop that one. Oh, there you go, right? All right, baby. All right, let's go all the way back. Really went deep. We really went into that one. Forgive me, I had to see it. I was curious. You saw some nice maneuvering. White had the edge there with the busted king side, you know. Now, there's probably better. Maybe black can hold. You let the engine go. You're playing your, you know, the 2 hour, 40 moves in 2 hours each, right? Maybe you know, you'd find better moves, okay? You'd survive if you're black. Could be anybody's game, really. But all right, that was a wild one. That really went. That's stemming all the way from this, right? When I don't even remember. Oh yeah, knight coming here. That was an attempt like that. Now the old master said, you know, Steinitz is criticizing Anderson for castling here, but shows, you know, doesn't show this, doesn't show this. You know, maybe black can hang in there, but it's tough. Anderson goes right, you know. It's instincts, folks. It's just intuition. These guys play with intuition. You get like that after a while. You know enough not to, you know. Does Morphy take the pawn? Let me see. I got to make sure now. After castles by Anderson, yeah, he takes the pawn. Now you got here knight to D4 exclamation point. Okay. Now they trade off minor pieces, right? Anderson now winning that bishop on C7. See, so maybe that was the whole thing. He says, if he grabs that, I'm going to throw the knight, I'm going to get his bishop, which, you know, that's what he wanted to do. He doesn't want Morphy having the bishop here. Perhaps that's why. You know, it's like you don't have to look deep. Sometimes you go on those principles. You don't want your opponent to have that slight edge of the bishop pair, and he finds this line. You know, he took on C7, and now he found a way to say, all right, when I leave this guy here, because he's threatening, folks. He's got threatening to either take the bishop on E2 and win that one and get rid of the bishop here, or if the bishop moves, you know, he can take over here with check, Now he loses a piece, right? So, I mean, it's pretty much forced. If he tries to move this guy, right? Well, now you get that bishop. See that? So that's my game. Look at black. He's doing fine. He's better in this line. He's better in this line than the other garbage, right? I mean, the other stuff was, who could see all those tactics? I mean, it was a real shootout in the middle of the board, right? The lines in that last line, knight here. I mean, it really got pretty crazy. Very easy to miss something in that line, opposed to castling. Boom, there you go. All right. So Morphy, yes, he takes with the queen, and you're not going to go here. You're going to take your piece back. All right, and now, all right, he moves the bishop, taking aim at h7. And now with the bishop here, Anderson develops the bishop. Now that b7 is not a problem, he brings it over here, right? Develops the bishop to g4, attacking that knight. Now, it says he should have played pawn to b6. Okay, it's been a little, you'll see b7's a little problem. It's a target for white. He starts to put pressure. He takes that as a target, trying to win it, while also it's like a double attack. You'll see now. Here it goes, followed by the bishop. Okay, after the old masters recommend Anderson should have played b6, and then say, all right, Shredder likes this, and then it says followed by bishop to b7. Okay, so develop the bishop on the long diagonal now. That's pretty nice, because he combines with the knight over here on the light squares. See that? Combines with the black knight. So, all right, anyway, here's Anderson playing bishop, putting pressure on the knight, but Morphy just swings the knight up here. And remember, his last move was bishop to d3, right? Now knight to g5. They're combining on this. All right, the king, the black king, and the knight protect it for now, but you know they're putting pressure. Now here you have Anderson swinging the rook to d8, attacking the white queen, right? But here they say that's a question mark, not the best move. Unduly afraid of white's kingside attack. Bishop to h5 was a good enough reply. If then, knight to e4, as Shredder finds. Well, knight to g4, putting pressure on you see, he's threatening mate, coming down on h2. All right, so now they give knight to g3, blocking it and attacking. Now, he's not really attacking that, because on something like this, right, he takes here. Don't forget the mate. I just said it, folks. You got to wake up. Come on. You got to dummy up. You got to dummy up. All right. Like I said, there's going to be more jokes, right? So anyway, the knight swings back here, and the line they give is, b6, okay? Now, they also say, or on white's 18th move, he could just stop the queen from coming in, blocking the diagonal. See that? And then now the knight comes here. Now, with g3 does what, folks, to the white king side? It creates light square weakness. They're suggesting maybe black can then just play knight to e5. You see what that threatens, right? Knight to f3 with a fork winning the queen, you see? So I tell you, when you push pawns in front of your king, you better look out, because you might be stopping the mate, the initial threat, but you might be opening a can of worms, right? There might be something even more dangerous developing. Now it's on the light square. Shredded plays suggests this, attacking that b7. All right, but we'll be here all day, you know. We'll be here all day. They didn't get too far into it. They just basically stopped at this move, knight to e5. And, you know, there you go. Morphy now finishes the game with great vigor. helped by black's blunder on move 20. Okay, let's go back. We got to remember now what Anderson plays. This was suggested as the move. Okay, moving the bishop back. Okay, so why this? Why this move, folks? The bishop, because the white queen is on it. Now, Anderson, the aggressive player that he is, he goes after the queen with his rook. All right? Now, the white queen is on this guy. You see, like they're threatening. There's even an interesting line here, just to show you. You got this, right? And the idea is if he takes this, right? You get this guy. The queen's on the bishop, only defended by the knight. Well, if the knight tries to recapture on h7, now this guy's hanging. No big deal. You take over there. There you go, right? And white won a pawn. And there you go. Okay, he's up slightly, even though, you know, he's up a pawn, even though the evaluation's pretty close. I guess that pawn doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But this is what starts to shape up now. This threat to this bishop. Okay, so Anderson attacks Morphy. Morphy moves, right? He moves the queen to g4, I believe, right? Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah. Now they're putting pressure on the b7 pawn, right? Now, let's see here. Let's see. b7 is threatened. So now Anderson moves the bishop back to get out of that trouble of the bishop hanging. This is actually indirectly protecting h7 now, because now the knight can recapture, and with the bishop moving back, it's now protecting b7 from the queen and the rook over here coming down and stealing that pawn. But what is bad about this move, if you've been following some of these games of Morphy's? It's like the bishop went back home. It said, I had enough of this fight. I'm tired. I'm going back home. And now he's locking in his rook on a8, right? So he's behind in development, the way it's shaping up. Okay. Shredder finds this. I believe that's what Morphy plays. Yep. King rook to e1. And now here we go. Now watch this. So now we have Anderson striking at the queen like Shredder finds. All right. I tell you, when a strong player, you know, Shredder is rated 2600 according to, you know, when I go into the settings. And I put it all the way up, so it helps us as best it can, right? Helps me out. See things I can't see sometimes. Like having a grandmaster suggesting, oh, oops, look, you missed this, you know? That's why I got him running, to help us out. Now, Anderson, Morphy, they're playing these moves that this machine is finding, 2600. So what do you think the rating was back in the day of horse and buggy, right, folks? These guys were playing like the Silicon Monster. I mean, come on. You got to love it, right? So anyway, okay, so a5 is played. Anderson plays that move just like Shredder would have, right? But now get a load of this. Here's a suggestion by the old masters. You got a warning, a word to the wise. H6 here, hitting the knight. Then follows, folks, look at this. Rook to e7. You know, this queen move had a dual purpose. If you didn't notice, it's attacking the material-wise. Yes, it's attacking d7, right? Sure I got this right. Goes to b4. The bishop comes back to defend, right? It's move 17, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yep. And now, with rook over, why do you think he took the open file? Natural move, right? But that's to come here. The queen is supporting it. You see that, folks? Okay, so that's why this move's important. You got to now. There's no time to do this, right? You can't do it, else you lose your queen. All right. Even if, let's see, even if you do that, okay. Look at that. He wins a pawn. He sacks the queen because he's going to win yours over here. And look at that. You win a pawn back. I guess you could end up maybe grabbing this one or whatever. All right. So it's a game, right? It's still a game. Okay. So black hangs in there. Hopefully, that's the idea, right? But now with this move, the old master's warned, with this move, now you let the rook come down. So queen to b4 not only threatens that pawn on b7, it lends support for the rook invading the black position. Rook to the 7th. Main theme in attack, folks. You want to get your rooks to the enemy, to the 7th rank. Okay? That's a good rule of thumb. Okay, now they give this. They give the block with the bishop, okay? Block with the bishop. Knight takes over here. Knight takes pawn. Okay? They swing the knight over here. This is what they give. Fork and the queen and rook. Now you sack this guy, right? It's a check move. So, all right, he takes. Here comes the, let's see, the bishop. Check. That's what Shredder finds. This is different. Let's see. He goes back here. Now it's a double check. Now if he takes it, right? Look, folks. Checkmate. You got to love that one, right? The diagonal checkmate. See that? When the king's got nowhere to run on the adjacent, like in this case, the D file, and the queen is covering the dark squares. Here comes the bishop checking on the light squares. Look at this little box here that he's in. See that? The queen covers this, and the bishop with the death blow. Unbelievable stuff. Now, the old masters didn't see that line. They didn't give the bishop check on h7, which was beautiful. They say pin the knight over here. You pin the knight a little longer. This also wins. Okay? So no, I mean, if you do this, folks, right? I guess if you jump and take the queen, he takes your queen. You take the check. He moves, and you can't even grab the knight because he comes down. He surprises you with one of those, right? The back rank weakness. All right. So you gotta watch. It's easy. He's mixing it up. It's getting a little crazy. So they're saying to take over here. Because the only piece that was threatening you was this knight. The knight was forking your queen and rook. Well, you take that guy off. Now the threat rook takes queen is still there. Okay, so when he takes you, well, then you take him, right? And he gets this. So he has a rook and bishop for your queen. And you're up, though. You're also up 2 pawns. So you're clearly winning this one. All right? So, okay. Okay, you're winning that way, if he plays it that way, with bishop here. Now, the old masters in the line after this, bishop c4, they give queen up, protecting the knight, and you got to come back here. Look at this move now. The knight's pinned, folks. He can't take you. The black knight can't get you. You're threatening mate over here on g7. So you swing the queen over here to protect from the mate, all right? And now you go... Bishop takes check. Okay, you grab the knight. I mean, really, they don't even bother blocking because you're just going to take, right? Oh, I guess you take this way, threatening the queen. All right, is this what he's going to do? Right, come on, folks. It's all over. Because really, if the queen... So you're getting that winning tempo on the queen because if she moves, you got the discovery coming next, right? All right, so she tries to block like the check, but I mean, really, folks, there you go. You take there, and then you come in. There you go, checkmate. Right, coming next. There you go, right there, like that. Okay. All right, there you go. Right, mate. Nice maneuver. Okay. So. That's another way it could go, and the old masters didn't even bother giving the bishop block line. I mean, heck, if he goes here, you could take this way, right? He goes here, Yeah, maybe it's better. Okay, mate and 5 though. It says mate and 5. So now, what's it gonna be? Let's just do this to see what's coming. Oh, right down there. Yeah, obviously. He goes there and you take, right? Okay. So, he tries to block that, right? After this, all right, he throws he's desperation mode. He takes over there. You get him this way. He goes over. There you go, right? There's another way to do it. All right. So, on this, right, no block. The old masters just give this. They give king over, right? And, look at this. They like this one. Queen of A3 setting up the discovery again, right? What are you going to do? Well, he's going to do this. You take this guy. Take the check, right? All right, it's enough. Enough of the, the suffering. This, after this, it's all over. He tries to stop, right? You can't double check, folks. Look, rook here, it's supported by the bishop. And the queen on A3 is giving check at the same time. Double check. King can only move. There you go. You win the king can only move to G8. Could move here too. Makes no difference. I mean, there you get mated, right? If he goes this way, well, now you can't come down because the black rook would take you. But you just win the queen, right? There you go. All over. Forget about it. Enough pain, right? So there you go. But you just gotta love what Shredder finds here. This one was beautiful. You gotta admit, look, double check. All right, and when he takes, you get that, right? Now let's just look though. If he goes here, all right, there you go. Right, he's gonna take. All right, and then you could go there for the mate. There you go. Now there's another beauty though, folks. Look at this one. Watch this. Watch this one. I found this myself. Look, if you say, well, he's blocking, the rook comes down, as we said, attacking the black queen. Okay? Now, if he blocks with we saw him block with the bishop, right? If he blocks with the rook, well, then look at this. You do the impossible. Oh, but the knight's gonna take, right? But look at this. You slip him in. Check. He has to go here, only square. Queen right in. Look at that. Infiltrates right into the enemy position. Look at that. They slaughtered the king. They assassinate him right when everyone's standing around. Look at this. Unbelievable, right? See how that knight and bishop, you see how they wormed their way in. You let them sit there posting, attacking H7. These are the things that could happen. You let a rook down to the 7th. Look at this. Right now, all right, if he plays this, I guess you trade, right? You trade or you win this one. Okay, so, All right, you go here, you take. Then he gets the knight out. The knight makes a run for it. He grabs the goods and runs. And there you are. You're up a pawn, right? White's doing pretty good. This is under the gun. You got to save that guy. All right, there you go, right? White's up slightly. Okay, but anyway, rook down. Is that about it? I think I played the whole line that they showed. Yeah. So that line was Moroxy, the one where they block like this, the whole deal, that whole thing. You block like that, and then the knight, let's see, let me make sure I got that. Yeah, the knight takes over here. He comes in over there, right? The knight takes with check and that whole thing. Now this was Moroxy with the pin instead of the check. Bishop H7 check. All right, just giving credit where credit's due. All right, so anyway, we go back to the game. And the old masters gave the warning, and Moroxy's line there. And this was the move Anderson played. Now, obviously, rook to E7 isn't coming. Can't do it. Morphy plays here. Now he's attacking F7. He's attacking the black queen. Well, they trade him off. Okay? There you go. You trade him off. And now, move 20, the question mark, the blunder that they mentioned earlier. This is Anderson's blunder. He plays the knight here attacking the rook, right? Nothing can prevent defeat now, but this move hastens it. Least bad was pawn to h6 now. All right. The knight takes. The king moves over, attacking both, right? They give queen, rook to e1, backing up the other rook on e7. Now the knight swings here, right? And they give king, rook, this one, to e5. He wins this one. Now, the notes are incorrect. They give this, and then he would take here, and then it just says etc. Now, the etc. being you would pin the rook, but then he goes here and unpins it, and you win this, and he wins that, and you end up down, right? There's a mistake. I think they missed the move. They mixed it up in their notes or however they printed it. You know, after this, you got to pin the knight now, okay? And if he already comes up with some pressure, well, that rook's protected anyway. And you just, all right, you take there. This guy can't come out, else you drop b7. All right, and there you go, right? Cement that guy in. He's nice on d5, the bishop. And you're good to go, all right? I don't know. Is he going to come? Cement this guy. Cement the rook on e5. Dark square, right? Maybe come over this way with the check. What do you think? Or he's going to protect against it. You go with this one. He goes after it. Protect. All right, they trade. All right, there you go. So now you're up almost 1.5. It's tough. Black could maybe hang in there. It's not bishops of opposite color. The bishops are on the light squares, right? So, all right. Anyway, we go back. Okay, that was saying, you know, nothing can prevent defeat now, but this move hastens it. They're talking about move 20, knight here. They're suggesting this. That's what we just looked at. That's where we got all this. When you end up like this, all right? All right, so let's see what happens to Anderson after this one now. Move 20. Knight to d5, going after the rook. All right, look at this. See, maybe he forgets about this. You got bishop takes pawn, check. Okay? Bishop takes pawn, check. Let's see, if the king goes this way, well, now you can just take. And he goes there, right? And you get this guy coming over, and it's going to be mate, folks. See that? You're just going to chop him up. Okay. So, let me roll the windows up because they're starting to throw a celebration outside. I don't know what's going on. But here we go. I'll show you now. If he goes this way, right, you take again. You take over here. And, you know, you're up. Was it 5 pawns to 3? Okay? So you're slowly getting the advantage here. All right. So we'll take it from there, I guess. Who knows? I don't know what this is about. He comes in with that. Goes there. All right. Bring that bishop back. Now your knight could move. Right? All right. There you go. You're good. White's up big time. He's up +3. Okay. So after this, the knight over here comes to check. Right? King came over. Rook takes bishop pawn. He comes down with this. This is what Anderson does. We're back in the game. This is what actually happened. Okay. He comes over with knight. And now you get the rook coming over to the e-file. And here's Anderson taking on a2. He's grabbing this pawn. You know, he is falling behind. He is falling behind these pawns. But, I mean, to make a move like this, it says bishop to d7. Would again prolong but not save the game. White could continue simply by retreating the bishop, they say, to d3. Shredder likes it going here, right? And win on his pawns. Morphy could have, if he was to face bishop d7, could simply move bishop to d3 and then just win on his pawns. That's what they say, okay? The old masters say. But Anderson grabs this guy. He grabs this one. So now you got the rook coming back. All right, going to swing it to the H file. Here he's going to come in to try to block that, I guess, with rook to A6. Going to swing it to H6. All right, here you go. He brings the bishop back, and there you have it. Anderson resigns at this point. Why? Well, I guess, let's see why. Let's just make a dumb move, right? Go check here. You got the threat of the, let's see how that all unfolded. You move the bishop so the knight can move again, right? And the rook clears. Look at that. Okay. Knight takes the pawn. The rook clears first. Clears f7. So now there's a fork, but he can't do it now yet, because he'll lose this guy. So he has to move him. So that's why Shredder's recommending this to stop the knight fork. But now you get this guy coming in. The bishop's blocking. The rook on a6 can't slide over to h6, right? He can't slide over here to block that check, because you're trying to stop the knight from coming here. But now you block, right? You block this guy. You block the rook. Can't get blocked. The rook can't block the rook check on h4. How else could I say it? Okay. So he takes here. I'm tired, folks. I'm tired. He takes there. All right. You give the check first. Isn't this grand? Look at this. Now he moves this way. You don't want to go here, because then it's mate, right? Checkmate. Beautiful mate. So now he goes this way, only square. Now you get to knight fork. All right, he comes up, and now you take this one. All right, he gets your knight, big deal. And there you go. Where's the rook going to go? I mean, where's the knight going to go? All right, he goes here. You take the pawn, right? This guy's running out of squares to leap to. Look at this. Can only go to this square at this point, or these, and he's in trouble. White might even win the knight at this stage, and he doesn't even have to, right? He's clearly up. All right, there it is. So, Anderson saw the carnage. He saw what was coming. He resigns. He resigns after, what was the move? Let's see. Let's go back. Knight takes pawn. Rook up. And then the rook comes here. And after the bishop retreats, he saw it. He saw the writing on the wall. No way to prevent this one without blocking this guy, So once the bishop came up, he saw this was coming. And I mean, this is all forced. Beautiful, isn't it, folks? Then the check. I mean, Anderson could see this. Don't forget about it. This was cake for him. He could see this coming. He knew his goose was cooked, so he had resigned. And there you go. You got between 2 and 3 hours, it said. 2 and 3 hours for this one. Which, by the way, I forgot to mention, that last game I know was a doozy, folks. Lots of sidelines. That was something else, that battle. But that last game, game 54, just to note, that game took 8 hours, folks. 8 hours. I mean, I've played some doozies before. When you get, you get the 2 hours for 40 moves, then you get an added on hour to complete the game. So between you and your opponent, the game could last 6 hours. I had a couple of those like that. Let me tell you, you feel like you're almost going to slip into a coma. But, can you imagine 8 hours? I mean, that's an extra 2 hours on top of what I've experienced, which is murder. Think of this, you go to work, folks, those of you that work 9 to 5 or whatever it is, right? You go in for an 8-hour day. Can you imagine playing chess for 8 hours your entire work day? And that's not even with a lunch break or a coffee break or anything. Can you imagine that? That's insane. I mean, you got to admit, no wonder why there was the best moves weren't played every time. Or the line wasn't deadly accurate like these, computers can show you. I mean, they're human, right? So anyway, there you go. Another one in the books. All right. So Morphy's really leading this one. He's up big on Anderson. So you got to catch game number 56 coming up. Anderson will get the white pieces. Can he make something of it? I don't know. Can he turn it around on this guy, Morphy? Who knows? You're going to have to stay tuned to find out. All right. Till next time. See you later.